welcome to this special edition of the Daily Mirror Online at Hi Online. My name is Sonia Hirdaramani, and I'm so excited to have the fabulous and the insatiable Shobhaa here with us.
Thank you, Sonia.
Shobhaa, you know I'm a big fangirl of yours.
Oh, thank you.
So excited to chat with you here in beautiful Sri Lanka at the stately Golf Face Hotel.
Absolutely. The pleasure to be here. I have been, what shall I say, a devotee, an obsessive tourist of Sri Lanka for over 40 years. So this must be my, God knows, 25th visit. I have seen Sri Lanka through many phases and modes and loved all of it, been troubled by some of it, and never stopped the fascination from drawing me back to Sri Lanka over and over and over again. I'm often asked to name my top 3 travel destinations because I do travel a lot, and Colombo is right there in the top 3. I love God as well.
We are so happy to hear that. Tell me, what brought you here first? What was your first trip for?
The first trip ever was also literature driven. There was a young journalist who was no more called Bandula, who then went on to join the Foreign Service and so on. At that time, he was very interested in voices out of Southeast Asia. He had attended Litfest in India and he invited me. And it was at the Mount Lavinia Hotel. And he hosted a marvelous evening there for readers and writers and poets and artists. And then there was no looking back because it was love at first sight. I loved the hotel. I loved Colombo. I was greedy for more of all of it. The food, the people, the smiles, the aesthetics, all of it. That was my first introduction. That must have been a good 40 years.
Wow, and the literary festival brings you back. Tell us about your experience at the inaugural Salon Literary.
It was absolutely amazing because I liked the venue, the public library. I liked the idea of Litfest being hosted in such a magnificent setting, which has some meaning, and it showcases the writers, the invited writers, and a few who had never been to Sri Lanka to a heritage spot, and nothing can be better than that. I liked my own 2 sessions quite a lot. Both were provocative in terms of concepts, and the subject matter was intriguing. I was a bit jet lagged, but anything for literature, anything for meeting readers, actually more than anything else, it's the interaction that you have with people. And here the literacy levels being as high as they are, it's a very informed audience. They've read your work, they know who you are, they ask very intelligent questions. Doesn't happen all the time at other Litfests, so it makes Litfest here very special. The inaugural session, well, with a few glitches here and there, went off very well, I think. They'll only take it up 5 notches higher from next year, but definitely a good lineup of writers and thinkers and good panelists.
Soon and I will be getting to your panel discussions in a short bit. But I wanted to know, I mean, everybody was excited to meet you. Who were you excited to meet at the Ceylon Literary Festival?
Someone I had met in India at another literary festival, and he's a Sri Lankan writer, Shreyan. And I think he's going to be the biggest voice out of Southeast Asia very soon. It's a very original voice. It's a passionate voice. The books are kind of dark and very noir, but it's an important voice from the region. So I was keen to meet him, and I did. It was socially. And the others, like William Dalrymple, it's always fun to meet at Litfest. And the other writers were people I knew from India, like Anita Nair, for example, or Shabani Basung. So we had a good amount of interaction, but it's never enough. You go back saying, oh, I wish I'd had more time with so-and-so. I wish I'd spent more time just listening, learning, absorbing. And Prajwal Prajuli was a dear friend who's from Nepal and Sikkim. So he'd written an extraordinary book called The Gurkha's Daughter, his debut novel. He's very young, he's 39. He'd written it 10 years ago, I think. And he's quite a literary star across across the world. So I always enjoy meeting them.
Many places in Sri Lanka. Where else have you visited besides Galle and Colombo?
Kandy, Galle and Colombo and around. But I really want to go to the center. I haven't been yet. I believe it has one of the best golf courses, and my son is a keen golfer and a very good golfer. So maybe I'll get him to invite me back when he's playing golf in Sri Lanka, because I really do want to see that. I haven't seen the center.
There's a lot of history there as well.
Absolutely.
We actually have 3 beautiful golf courses in the country. Tell me, now we know you love food, so I must ask, what do you think of Sri Lankan cuisine?
I'm just so disappointed we don't have more authentic Sri Lankan restaurants across India, or even in Mumbai, which is quite the food capital, or Delhi, which is really a gourmet city. There are 2 or 3 Sri Lankan chefs who are doing sort of very modest restaurants, but the food and cuisine deserve wider recognition. For me, what Darshan is doing, he is a national treasure. He is going to put Sri Lankan cuisine, and his personality and his knowledge of food and world cuisine and his positioning is just being honored by the Japanese government. I think if Michelin ever comes to Sri Lanka, then there are at least 3 or 4 top restaurants here which deserve to be noticed by the Michelin guide. And I know that Darshan will walk away with the star. The first star from Sri Lanka will be definitely yes. So I like your breakfasts a lot. When I'm here, I wouldn't dream of eating anything other than hoppers and string hoppers and with all sambals, all the various combinations. I ate mine this morning, believe it or not, which is my own way of eating it. Not with an egg in the center, because I don't like runny eggs, but with braised beef. And it was fantastic. I recommend it to anyone who hasn't tried it. It's lovely. It's a very complete meal in itself.
And I saw you actually broke crab last night. I
Yeah.
follow in investigative journalism. I'm following you on Insta.
The only way to eat crab is to dig in. You cannot be self-conscious. You cannot get people to, sort of break it up for you. Dig in, eat it, use your hands, your nails, your everything. You just enjoy it. And then you can always wash your fingers in a nice hot finger bowl.
Did you wear your bib?
And I wore the bib, and I had the whole crab experience. It was great.
Lovely. Now, speaking of food and eating, I'm going to sound like one of the ladies in the as a lunch you mentioned in your book who are interrogating you on your diet. But I must ask, for those of us who are always in search of the next diet, is there anything that you're shunning at the moment?
I don't eat sugar and sweets. I haven't for years. I didn't eat my own birthday cake at age 2. So it's not a diet. It's my palate dictates what I eat. So no sugar and carbs. Well, I think the whole no carbs thing is unrealistic, because we do need carbs. You just have to make sure you don't overindulge with carbs. That's about it. And I shun, if there's one thing I shun, it's deep fried anything. It's crisp, it's great, it's irresistible, but I can actually say, no, thank you. Give me something steamed any day.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are your thoughts on Botox and fillers and et cetera, which camp do you espouse? Growing gracefully, or live and let live, whatever floats anyone's boat?
Growing old disgracefully rather than gracefully works better for me. This whole thing about, growing old gracefully is a bit of a trope, a bit of a cliche, that, women after a certain age, and I'm 76, proud of it, own it, and as all women should, at whatever age, to sort of disappear into the sunset and become mild little old ladies knitting for their grandchildren. That's not me. And that's not thousands of other women across the world. So to try and put us into the cage of age, I will fight that to the last breath. Would I ever go in for anything intrusive? Never, ever. If my daughters ask me, Mom, what do you think? Should I give it a shot? I really want my lips to look fuller. And I just said, bite them before you go to a party, if you must. Or use a lipstick enhancer or a lip liner. But the minute any woman starts to succumb to all of this, whether it's Botox and fillers and even sort of dramatic surgery to give you cheekbones and remove something from here and stretch something from there, you're going to end up looking, I'm sorry to use a comparison, but you'll end up looking like Michael Jackson during his last few days, because everything then starts to collapse. And once you start, you cannot stop. You cannot say, I'll start, I'll try Botox once, I'll try it twice, and that's it, I'm not going to do it ever again. Because then you need to keep doing the same thing in order to look what you imagine is your best self. And then there's no looking back after that, because you have to keep at it. And anything intrusive, going under the knife when you don't need to, I believe is abusing your body. So yes, I'm from that.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's with all the pressures of social media, it's important for women to hear, your thoughts on this. I read in your book that you are very friendly with Prasad Vidya, who's one of the forces behind Colombo Fashion Week. I was wondering if you've attended any of the events and if you perhaps had a favorite Sri Lankan designer.
Well, I haven't attended for the last few years, but I do remember attending the very first collaboration that Prasad Vidya and Ajay Veer Singh, they collaborated on Colombo Fashion Week. Good 10 years ago, and then there was COVID and there were other things in between, and I didn't attend any after that, but I follow it very keenly. And there are a lot of young designers who I like. There's a Shonani who does, and what's her? Yeah, she's marvelous. I like Charini. I like her work. She's trained in fashion. She's qualified. She knows drapes. She knows how to cut. I like Anika. I like her work. It's very stylish and just up there. I have a lot of old Yolanda.
I read that in your book.
Yeah, I do, and they're very precious to me. And now my daughters are wearing Yolanda, which is fabulous. I know there are others now who are doing batik differently. I can't pronounce the names, but Prasad has guided me to one such who they do batik differently, and especially menswear. And barefoot is something that the whole world comes to shop at barefoot.
One of our treasures. So now we've covered food, fashion, and now friends. I was wondering, now when you write a review about something, say for argument's sake a movie, and you really give a candid, honest, perhaps scathing review, and you meet the people from the movie, perhaps at a social gathering, or maybe they give you a little bit of an attitude, maybe they're upset with you. How do you deal with those negative vibrations?
You accept me as a friend, then this is who I am. I'm not in the PR business. If you can't handle my opinions, you can walk away. But I'm not going to change, because I think that's my job, not to those friends, but certainly to my viewers and readers and followers on Instagram. I'm not there to do puff pieces for anyone. So it comes with its own, what should I call it? You're already warned that this lady is not going to toe your line and give you a rave because you're her friend. You can unfriend me. It doesn't matter.
That's great, because a lot of women struggle with wanting to be liked, wanting to please. So I just love to hear that.
No. I'm not here to win any popularity contest. I'm not that kind of person. I think we all owe it to ourselves to be honest and authentic. And if newspapers trust you because of your credibility, then that credibility does not come with a price tag. You don't negotiate a review. You don't. You say it like it is, or do something else, do something which is completely non-controversial, maybe train to become a dentist or something like that. But if you are in media and you are a columnist, you're expected to express an opinion that's candid. Otherwise, don't do it at all.
I love this. So in the same vein now, what was your key takeaway from the panel? Will the last feminist switch off the lights when they leave the room?
I was kind of intrigued by the title. I didn't know exactly what it meant, but I liked the idea of three women expressing themselves strongly about their views on feminism. I like George very much as a moderator. In fact, he was one of the top moderators I was thinking at this inaugural edition. He'd done his homework. He had some great questions. And the two ladies who were on the panel with me are both academics, and they've done a lot of work studying feminism. For me, I'm just a woman who's lived feminism. I have not studied it. I don't have theories on it. I don't subscribe to any kind of feminist rule book. I define my own rules of feminism. And to me, it's very simple. It's not about hating men or loving women or confronting anyone who is anti-women, because women can also be anti-women. It's just about respecting equality and respecting the other human being on equal terms. That's it. So any feminism that comes with an agenda, that's not my idea of feminism at all. It's a political agenda most of the time. In the US, I can understand the movement because they were agitating back then in the 60s and 70s for equal pay. They were agitating to change legislation so that they could have equal opportunities. It's very different from the Asian version of feminism. So we should come up with our own way of handling discrimination, and it's not through kind of ugly name calling.
It really, feminism, the term has been misinterpreted and misused as, and you're right, it's just all about wanting equality. It's very simple. It doesn't.
And let women be. Yeah, let women be whoever they are. They choose to be.
Yeah.
And don't label people.
Right.
I wouldn't do that with a man. So why would I be at the receiving end of anyone doing it to me?
Absolutely. And as always, women have their choices and make their own choices. And that leads me to my next question, which is, honestly, it baffles me as to how you are self-admittedly, from your book, an over-involved mother to 6 children. You are a career woman times 100. You look amazing. You seem to be everywhere. I could go on and on. Then please share some tips on how you manage your work-life balance.
Prioritizing what's important to you is number one. I think we all do it. We don't just recognize it as that. From the time I had my first child, it was very clear to me that, hey guys, I'm out of the marketplace. I'm not going to be working at a job. Though I was a professional editor at the top of my game then, I opted out from...
You did take a break.
I did not. I worked even harder. Just didn't report to work.
Okay.
I did what I had to do. I wrote much more than I had ever written as an editor, because a lot of your time is invested in reading other people's copy and putting that into shape. I loved being an editor. I still am an editor, but books and I helped mentor young authors and writers. So opting out for me was the only way to do it, because I wanted to give my children a presence at home that they could count on. And that has been my priority number 1 to 100, is to be available to my children. Physically, not always possible now, but back then, 100% possible, and emotionally, 110%. So it's a commitment, we all choose. That was my commitment, and I'm glad that I hope I've done a good job of that. And making lists for ladies who may not have the same level of commitment to domestic stuff. Making lists, I cannot live without lists. Yeah. First thing in the morning.
List, no taker.
Yeah, no, list, and then I take it off at the end of the day. And with 6 children, 7 grandchildren, what I am not brilliant at, because dates and numbers challenge me always. So I need to write it all down. I cannot keep a track of every grandchild's birthday or all the anniversaries or various special occasions. It's tough. So, and I've never had an executive assistant or a secretary. So I'm a one-woman show. So, it's hard, but it also keeps me on my toes. I like that. And my children keep me on my toes the most. I mean, they're always ticking me off. So, and telling me where to get up and, oh, no, wow, this. I'm sure even when they see this interview, there'll be something they'll say, oh God, did you have to say that? But I've said it.
So you're still using your box counting, and you mentioned.
It's just me. It's in my bedroom right now.
I looked at the moleskin. I can't live without my moleskin. But in regard to so you did take a break. You didn't take a break, but you worked on your own terms.
on my own time. Most
That I think that's an interesting, and now with this new hybrid workspace, I think that's
Yes.
something that women should consider. Now, another investigative reporting question: how many hours do you sleep to accomplish so much?
I am not an early riser. So before 8:30 in the morning, I'm dead to the world. But once I'm awake, I'm like boom, boom, boom. I can I can keep going to 2 or 3 in the morning quite comfortably. My mind is wired best at night because I believe there is a theory that if you're a night person, you're an owl. You're an owl for life. If you're a lark, you're a lark. A lot of people prefer the early morning hours, especially writers. But for me, it's really a waste of time to sleep that much. It's a waste of energy. I mean, I sleep as much as I need to, but I'm not obsessed by sleep.
But you can function in 5 hours.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. It's just how you train yourself and your mind and what excites you. I wake up almost every day feeling excited about something. It could be something very trivial, very silly, very small, but it's exciting me. It could be that, has the hibiscus flowered in my little garden outside on the balcony. If I'm anticipating it, I go out to see it, and if it really has flowered, it thrills me. It's something so simple.
It's your insatiable zest for life. And it's that's what I, at least that's what
Yeah, that's a lovely, thank you. A lot of people feel that way. I think we all have it. We don't tap into it enough, or we get bogged down with a lot of cynicism, and we get sort of blasé about the small delights in our lives and concentrate on the bigger disappointments. And if you turn that around, there'll always be disappointment. I mean, no one's life is perfect. There's always going to be something that you feel let down about, even a person who lets you down. If you're going to invest so much of your energy thinking about that, rather than saying, okay, next, and then look for something happier.
Yeah. Now, another thing that really surprises me about you, actually, is that it seems that you also, like us mere mortals, also suffer from imposter syndrome. That's what it's called today. I'm just going to quote from your book. Insecurity has been a loyal companion. No wisdom to impart, no gyan. Suddenly, I'm overcome with feelings of self-loathing and guilt. So please tell me this gets better with age, and how do you deal with it?
You accept it. I don't think there's, I'm not a superwoman. I don't think anyone is a super anything. So vulnerability is not a bad thing. It's self-questioning has its rewards. You cannot be complacent. You cannot be smug and say, oh gosh, I've done it all. I've seen it all. There's nothing in the world that can surprise me. And I'm happy, happy, happy all the time because no one is. If you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling hurt, table it, deal with it, and then you can go on. You can't be in denial and say, oh, I never feel that. Insecurity for me is like a creative code. If I'm not insecure, I don't think I would write. I think all writers, almost anybody who expresses himself or herself in the public domain, it could be a filmmaker, a poet, a painter, an actor, an actress, whoever's there being judged in public for whatever reason, politicians. Insecurity can work either positively and make you want to do better and say, no, I succumbed to something that made me insecure then, I'm going to work on that. Or you're going to, in my case, I would always think, I'm always insecure, for example, even at a lit fest that, oh, I forgot to say this, oh, I should have said that, and oh, I could have said that, but I didn't. The point is, the next time around, are you going to better what you did at the last lit fest? Are you going to be better prepped? Are you going to go there with something specific that you want to convey? Can you do it better, basically? So insecurity is good.
Insecurity, that's so interesting to look at as a positive, as a motivating factor.
Yes.
Instead of, because we're always, it really derails so many people, anxiety and insecurity, but actually could use it as a motivating factor. I think that's a great takeaway. And speaking of anxiety, now, one of the things you're known most for is your guts. You say things that people do not have the like to say. I'm going to quote from your book. Families have been divided and marriages broken because of one despotic individual.
Whoa.
So you wrote clearly in your book that you're not afraid. But do you have anxiety post-tweet, post-comment of what's going to happen? Do you rethink it, or when it's out, it's out?
Well, I own it, as we all must. Especially Twitter is, and I have paid hefty price for a lot of my tweets. I have faced lawsuits. Forget the trolling. I've had police protection for 2.5 years for a stupid comment, which is not stupid. It was politically loaded, but it was not something that's going to lead to rioting on the streets or blood flowing down any city. So it is a price that I have paid with responsibility and willingly, and won in our Supreme Court, which has become a landmark judgment. So yes, freedom of speech is very precious to me. Freedom of expression is very precious to me. So long as we live in a democracy, I think that's my birthright. I think it's my right as a citizen. Is something I want to take for granted. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder to say, oh, who's going to come after me? Let them come after me, bring it on. I mean, I'm happy to deal with it because we still have a strong judiciary. And I know I can fight it in the courts. But if someone lobs a bomb at me, that's a different story. Or gets me with a bullet. No one has any control over any of that. But does that mean the fear of that happening will make me zip up and shut up and keep my peace and not say something that I feel very strongly about? Absolutely not. I speak on behalf of millions of citizens, and I think that's what I'm there to do. So it's fine if the establishment, whoever doesn't like me, deal with it like I will deal with whatever they bring on.
And you're one of the few in that particular strata of society in India, I would say. Whereas in Sri Lanka, when we had the economic crisis, we actually saw people from what one would call the one percenters out there with signs and protesting and getting involved. But another quote from your book. My palate is adventurous as I am. The only time I get indigestion is when I'm forced to eat my words. I know you just said it's out, what is out there and out there, but is there anything that you have read saying, any scathing regret that, that one I didn't need to say?
Oh, of course, there have been a few. Because I just felt I was giving undue importance to an unimportant person. And if it's going to lead to such a backlash, was it even worth it? So yes. But taking on the big ones with all guns firing, I'm more than happy to do that. It's giving really importance to a starlet or something by making a comment which yes is scathing, but not worth it.
On the panel yesterday, The Empire Strikes Back, it seemed like you had a lot more you wanted to say on the subject because different panelists were going in different directions. Is there anything else that you wanted to share on that subject with our viewers?
Well, it was such an important topic. We were there to discuss the region and all the implications and how the region has got its own comeuppance. And we are in a far better position than certainly we were with the mindset of colonized people. And that pride, I don't mean it in a boastful sense. I don't mean we should have been dancing on the graves of the colonizers or digging up history from 200 years and saying, you did this to us, you did that to us, apologize. None of that. It's just that we needed to table our concerns as much as our pride in our identities. We should have focused much more on our relationships with one another, especially at a time when things are really looking up. And the ties between our two countries are strong and growing. And where you had important people, the president was with us, and so was the American ambassador, particularly what's happening in Sri Lanka and how one can get out of it. Or India's rise to what is now superpowerdom. We could have discussed that with an election coming up, a very important election, 2 months away. we could have really discussed policy and not saris.
Well, I would like to discuss, and I would like to ask you what you think of this, the relationship between Sri Lanka and India, bedmates, as you called us.
Yes.
Really, the relationship is at its highest since I've been
Yes,
researching,
right.
and during the economic crisis, India really did come
Yes.
to Sri Lanka's aid like
Yes.
never before.
Yeah.
So, and Gautam Adani's developing port. I could go on, so on and
Yes.
so forth.
No, I think
This is
India
a
is
new
definitely
era.
deeply invested in Sri Lanka in the best way. Maybe there is that important recognition that we need each other. Strategically, we are key to one another's future and welfare, and that the region's stability in Sri Lanka matters as much as India's stability and its relationship to Sri Lanka. So it should be a relationship of mutual respect and understanding, and the future is definitely something that we need to safeguard ourselves against whatever there may be. There may be attempts to destabilize this region, and if we are not watchful, and if we let it go by default, then really it's going to be a shame, because like I said, it's a symbiotic relationship culturally and in every sense. We have been connected for centuries, which is not true about Sri Lanka and China being connected in quite the same way for centuries. It's not the same with us. It's a much more emotional, much more psychologically powerful relationship with Sri Lanka, and we should value it as for what it is in that context, apart from standing by one another. It's as simple as that.
I think we are running, towards the end of our time. But I wanted to say that I have something in common with you, which is the search for, everything new, the new experience, the new restaurant, the new food, the new this.
Yes.
Is there any chance of you one day deciding to kick up your heels and just look at sunsets with Mr. Day?
No chance.
Ever.
He's as adventurous and alpha as I am. He's not looking to sit by the sea staring at a sunset either. For example, I missed my flight coming here. Not missed, I left my passport behind in Mumbai when I was taking a flight from Delhi. So that's a bad girl thing to do. I'm just careless. And I said to him, are you sure you want to get back to Mumbai? I pick up my passport and we take another flight to make it to the festival to which I am committed, and take a flight out at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's your call. And I didn't know. I thought, any normal kind of traditional husband would have said, how could you leave your passport behind? What a careless thing to do, and so on. So I just said yes or no, but take your time to tell me. So we were checking into the Mumbai flight, and he just tapped me and he said, I'm game.
I love that.
Yeah, there he is, and enjoying every minute. So I would hate it if he turned into the other person saying, come on, darling, let's sit and watch the sunset together and listen to some serene music. And if he turns all philosophical and I turn into this mushy old lady sitting and looking at sunsets, I don't see that happening. I hope it never happens.
I don't think it'll happen for me either, nor my husband. So that's nice to hear you feel that way. I cannot thank you enough for your time. This is
you. Thank you
so
all.
fun to
Thank you
chat.
to the-
Thank you. To the
Thank you all.
viewers. Thank you so
viewers. Yes. Thanks a lot. That was great.
So fun, Shobhaa. Thank you.